Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We have bellied up to the bar today. Now we're back on our regular schedule. We're not out there changing things up and doing different Saturdays. All right, hold on to my guest. I have to hold on. Oh, how do I change that? All right. See, this is where technology gets me, folks. I'm trying to do things and I'm trying to, all right, how do I fix this? All right, we're going to remove that. See, this is what makes live so interesting, folks, is you get to do live things when you realize that you put your Instagram live on a different tablet, which means you can't go back into it for everyone else to see that you're live. And now, is this not, come on, don't be a oh, wait. And now we're live on Instagram. How that works. See, and our guest knows all about handling mistakes, fixing people's mistakes, making sure that their punctuation is correct. And thank goodness people can't put punctuation on the way I speak, because I talk very Baltimore and it would never work out. I'm going to have to, there's a question for my guest. I wonder if she actually knows this one thing I'm going to ask her. But joining us from about, about 25 minutes from where I'm at right now, it is Miss Karen Lombardo.
Hello.
Hi, Karen. So
Hi.
you have to remind me, we'll get into all the housekeeping stuff real quick, but you'll have to remind me. I'm going to ask you a question about, because now, they have people talk about Boston accents and on Boston talk and all these different areas. I'm going to ask you about one that I'm wondering if you actually knew that this is a thing. We'll go into, but before we get into that, folks, let's go ahead and take care of some house cleaning, as we always need to. Over my right shoulder, that's the big board for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe in, something you're supporting, something you want other people to know all about, you can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, all those different locations, so that other people can find out about what you got going on. I'm trying to, but my technology and me are just so fighting today. Oh, this is why I have a good wife who just tells me, relax, it's fine, don't worry about it. I, on the other hand, look at all this stuff and go, why is this messing with me? All right, I fixed that. But if you got any of those things, you can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Oh, look at this. It's where's this talking to me at? Oh, I love it. All those different locations. You reach out and you tell me what you got going on. Even our emails, the above the bar podcast at gmail.com. I'll go ahead and tell you where to send it. You send me a sticker. We put it on the big board. We read about it live here so everybody can know about it, and it lives on the world of the intranets so everybody can know about it. So make sure you reach out to us for Sticker and a Cause. Then we got to talk about the people that are paying the bills around here. And that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson and Cooksaki, and Schoharie. Any one of those three locations, they're having big sales this month. They cover everything from blind, shade, shutters. They can do tint. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, they'd even put duct tape if you're on your window, if you really thought that was the best choice for you. But you reach out to them. They're doing 20% off of your order this month. And if you motorize anything, they'll take an additional 5% off. And as always, if you tell them you're there to belly up to the bar, they give you another 5%. So make sure you reach out to Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. All right. How to get all that stuff out of the way. You know what it is, Karen? I haven't had my first. It's Wednesday. It's like the only day during the week that I have any adult beverages that of like any significance. It's not like, oh, we're gonna go to dinner. I'll have a beer. Like, this is my day, and I haven't had one because I was on the road. I was coming from New Jersey. That's what the problem is. Spending time in New Jersey just messes everything up.
Yes, it does.
So here's going to be my question. So let me make sure I get all this correct. And I warned Karen already. I looked to my left for all my notes. So let's make sure I got everything about Karen that I have here correct. Where'd it go?
Okay.
All right. Where'd all my notes go? All right, there they are. So let's see here. So you're a copywriter. which
Yes.
we're definitely going to talk about copyright. And you and I have had this conversation in other places about it. Is it a dying art?
Mhm.
You've got the children's books.
Mhm.
Don't you do the Romeo and Juliet thing too? What
I
is this?
do.
The Romeo and
You
Juliet?
do the letters to Juliet.
Letters to Juliet. I was telling somebody else about that. You do the
Yes.
letters to Juliet.
Yes.
Your mom, very Italian mom at that.
Your mom. Yes.
You know, you got the very Italian mom and what Alabama? Is that where he's at?
Yes. Roll Tide.
Yeah,
My son
well,
went to Alabama. My daughter went to RIT.
look, I'm going to tell you personally. Listen, nothing against your son, but RIT impresses me more than Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm going to let they can fight about that the random person that they don't know from Adam thinks that RIT is a little bit more impressive to me than Alabama. I mean, I think it says it in its name that it's more impressive, but that's me. So you've done all these things and you're still willing to hang out with us here at the bar. And
Of
I'm very,
course. And look what I poured myself.
oh, is that, oh, you got little Coopers.
Cooper's daughter, the black walnut is my favorite. It was my husband's favorite. Is it the black walnut?
Absolutely.
Delicious. So I poured a little bit with
Got
a little bit of maple syrup in there. Delicious.
oh, nice. Now,
So yes.
my wife likes the uh Corcel or something like that from them. Gosh, I can't think of what's called. She'll probably grab the bottle here in a minute and remind me of it. But it's a liqueur from them,
Ooh,
and you mix it with like a little bit of Sprite or a little ginger ale. It's right on point. Now, see,
good.
I drink local also. We're big supporters of New Scotland spirits.
Mm-hmm.
These are guys in the Helderbergs.
Yep.
So we're big fans of theirs, but we do like Cooper's daughter. I didn't realize till the other day, I have driven past their distillery probably 100
I
times,
bet you did going down there. Mm-hmm.
and it's like the most nondescript farmhouse that's got a little sign on the side of the road that says Cooper's daughter.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the extent of it, and I'm like, "Well, how about that? That's out of nowhere."
Yeah.
So,
And they're good.
it is very good stuff. And you know what? They've got a great sales team. I'll give them that. Like, I've been to a couple events, met some of the people on their sales team that's out there hustling bottles underneath tents at like Hudson Food Festival and some other things.
Oh yeah.
They're just good people that are out there, in the grind. I love anybody who's willing to do the grind.
Yeah.
So now here's the question for you.
Okay.
Did you know that Baltimoreese is a type of language that is studied?
No, I
Like
did not know that.
you can look it up, that the way we speak in Baltimore and the Baltimore accent is very unique. It's not Philly, because Philly's a little more like, "Hey, we're here in Philly." Like, they're a little more that way. In Baltimore, we're a little deeper in there, "Hey there, hon," they're close. They're very mid-Atlantic. We have some words that interchange with each other, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
I was curious if you knew that it was a thing.
No, and I used to go to Baltimore for work. We had an office in Baltimore. I don't remember. Philly, I can hear it. And my son-in-law is from Philly.
Oh, yeah.
And I can hear it. He says he doesn't have an accent. I'm like,
Oh,
Nicholas, if you're listening to me, yes, you do, honey. You do.
yeah. Yeah. Listen, honey, you've got an accent.
You
Trust
have
me.
an accent.
Yeah, in Baltimore, it's very, like, here's a great video, completely sidebar, but it will go into what we're gonna talk about here in a minute, folks. There's a great video where the guys are saying the word iron. So it's like Aaron's,
Oh,
Aaron's
yep.
clothes with an iron, and it's like, It and what's funny to me, though, is as a kid who grew up there, our accent has changed. So, like, when I grew up in Baltimore, a real Baltimore accent was my aunt's father. He was very much, "Hey, hon, we're gonna go on downtown, take the dogs for a
Yes.
walk. We'll come on back, get some water at the zinc. We'll hang out on the front stoop there, hon, and we'll be good, man. It'll be a nice night. We'll all just hang out." And that was the Baltimore accent. Now it's very like, It's like this weird. It's evolved, and I don't know of anywhere else
No.
where they can say that. But that goes into what Karen does. And if you want to know about Karen as we're going through this, make for those of you that are watching, please give that like, share, follow. It might sound cliche, but it means a lot. Karen's a copywriter. She all these other things. That's the first thing I want to talk about. You like tell people what I don't think people understand what a copywriter is. Like I think it's like one of those things like somebody's like, oh, my friend's mom's a copywriter. And it's like what like nobody knows really. Like it's something we all need, but I don't think people understand what it
Mhm.
is.
So a copywriter, I mean, people call it different things, but a copywriter is someone who you hire to write copy for a website or a blog or marketing materials, different from copy editing or an editor, where I mean, I can do copy editing, but that's not what I do. So, I write all types of things, all types of businesses. And, some of that, to your point about, is it a dying art? Our little friends at artificial intelligence make it a lot more challenging. Um, but I think there's something to be said about the interaction. I mean, when I write for a new client, if I can, I go and I sit down with them. I tour their office. I talk to their people. I can't write if I don't understand you or what you do. So I think artificial intelligence can't do that. I mean, can it write a 1,000-word blog post on, you know,
In a matter
ticks?
of second,
Probably.
matter of seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But I think there's something to be said. I think you can hear a voice when it's written by a human versus a machine. I think you can.
Now, staying with that for a second, because you go in and because of your history and your experience with this, are you able to personally just like look at a copy and be like, that's AI?
Sometimes because it doesn't sound right. Like it doesn't flow and nobody talks like that. And I'm sure we've all seen something when you're like, "That's odd." Like it's either so formal or so plastic in a sense that I don't think anybody wrote that.
Like this can't be real that somebody's writing that way.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean there's not a place for it. I mean, I tell my clients, look, if you're trying to write an ad and you say, I want to write an ad about, well, I don't know, like today's pizza specials, then you can say, help me think of a title for a newspaper or ad about pepperoni pizza. And it can help you. And you might look at it and go, I don't know it. I don't like that, but I like that. So I'm going
Like
to take
taking
that.
phrases out
Yes,
of
and that's okay. Not to be generative, not to write a paper or an article, but to help you get ideas and help the creative mind go. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
it. All right. Now that also though goes into, I mean, writing is your life. Let's call it what it is.
It is
Like
now. Yes, it is.
I don't know anyone like everybody out there talks about, oh, you should get into a bunch of different things and try a lot of stuff. You're a writer. Like call it what it is. I mean, you've got all the different websites, the pasta on the floor, Chip and Tillie's book.com, the virtual copywriter.com, um, all these different pieces. I mean, you truly are a writer. And Eric says, I use AI for send outs, but for sure critique it. You got to.
You got
I
to.
actually use Grammarly
Yeah.
over top of it, and Grammarly like slaughters AI,
Yeah,
which is
it
interesting
does.
because
Everybody
Grammarly
says
is
that.
just another AI. It's an AI critiquing an AI, which I
Hmm.
find very interesting. But were you growing up? Were you a strong writer growing up? Were you the kid that like was like writing her own books and creating her own stories? Like, how did you get into this world?
It's really weird. People ask me that all the time. And I work I went to Siena and I graduated from Siena and I went to work in New York. I worked for LexisNexis, which is a really big company. And I was in sales and I worked my way up and I managed the sales team for the eastern half of the country. And so I got into a little bit of marketing. And so I was there for, I don't know, 13 years. And then I was I can't remember where I went after that, but I was a VP of sales and marketing for a company in Delaware. And that's when I started to be like, I kind of like this writing thing. And I've always liked to write. And, I tell this story. My grandmother, Amelia, who I named my daughter after, she was the romantic. She was 4'8", 205, little Italian Grammy, and she was romantic. She was the oldest of her siblings, wrote love letters to my Uncle Tony and signed them with her sister's names. He married my Aunt Anna. My grandmother did such a good job that he fell in love with my Aunt Anna and married her.
Is Tilly snoring?
Yeah, do you hear her?
I can hear Tilly. Look, folks, if you don't know who Tilly is Karen's English bulldog. And at first I thought it was a car driving past your place, like one of those bumblebee exhausts. And I was like, man, that's
No,
really loud exhaust. And then I realized, man, that person's running right up and down her street pretty steady. And
no,
then I just realized
it's Miss Tilly. She's out cold. She's out cold. She's mad. She was circling because she's like, because I go to the gym, my class starts at 5 a.m. And she's like, it's 8 o'clock. We need to be like winding down right now. We don't work
oh,
at 8.
I got her all messed up, huh? That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
hilarious.
she's
Oh,
great.
poor Tilly.
Poor
Well,
Tilly.
so it sounds like grandma kind of created that passion for you in the writing. That I'm going to jump around a little bit here because the first thing that comes to mind to me is you do the Juliet thing,
Yeah,
in, and that's in London, right?
Italy,
Italy. Okay, so you
Italy.
do the Juliet thing in Italy. You write for that,
Yep.
and tell people who that is, and then I'm curious, do you channel your inner Nona
I
for
don't
that?
know. I think sometimes I think so. And she was such a great storyteller. So it wasn't always written, but we would tell stories and make up stories. And so I think some of that makes your mind it start to think, even though if you didn't write it. So, when my husband died, I was watching Letters to Juliet, and I'm watching this movie. I'm like, I wonder if that's a real thing. Like, do people really write letters to Juliet and they write back? And so I called him. And I told him, I said, my husband passed away, and I watched this movie, and is this something? I'm a writer. Is this something that you do? And they're like, yeah. So I sent them a sample. They sent me a letter to respond to see how it sounded. And God, I mean, I've been doing it for maybe 3 years now, and I do like, I don't know, 10 to 12 letters a week.
Whoa,
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that many.
yeah, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's sad sometimes. It's hard to hear them. But this morning I got 2 responses back they sent me, that I wrote the letters to these 2 women, and they were like that. The one woman said it brought me to tears. I was so happy to get your letter. So a lot of times I get the response back because in Italy they track who actually did it, so that
Okay.
when they send it back to the person who asked, they know who wrote it. And so it was really nice. I got 2 today for people
Now,
that were really happy.
are the people sending the letters to Juliet, are they international also, or is it more an Italian thing? It's in
Oh,
Italy.
they're everywhere, but they're in Verona. I mean, Juliet's in Verona, Italy. So the
Okay.
letters go to Verona, or the emails go to Verona, and then they disperse them. I don't know how many of me are in the world, but it is a great thing. I love doing
Well, let's answer that right now. There's only one of you, Karen.
it.
There's only one.
That's what
There's
my mother would say. Thank God there's only one.
there's only the one. So you get into the marketing piece and kind of roll back here to the start. And look, folks, if you're interested in any of the stuff that Karen's got going on, you want to know about it, she has a website, thevirtualcopywriter.com. You're going to have to explain to me what pastaonthefloor.com is. And then she has her children's book that she recently wrote, Chip and Tillie Books, and Tillie's TILLIE books.com. She has that going on. So you get into this piece, you're into the whole copy, you're into the marketing side. You're rolling along with this. Like, maybe I missed it if you said it, but when does that become the world of Karen? Like, I'm staying in marketing, I'm staying in copywriting, I'm doing these kind of things. Like, when did you discover in all this? Because I can tell you right now, if somebody came to me and was like, because I'm a sales guy, we've talked about this
Mhm.
and said to me, like, I want you to be a copywriter. I'd be like, I want you to go blow smoke up your own tailpipe. That's not happening because I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm a great talker. I'm not a great writer and it doesn't translate. Like I've had people tell me, you write like you talk and it doesn't work.
Aw.
It just does like, seriously, like, when I write to somebody, I'd be like, "Look, man, you need to go ahead," and they're like, "You can't, like, you have to change up the language in it." So when do you realize you're like, "Oh, this is a way better fit for me from a VP at this end to doing that?"
It's funny. And I was in sales for a long time and I was good at it because I was a better farmer than a hunter. And
Oh, okay.
so I mean, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm a good farmer. And so I think that that mindset of understanding people and communicating with them and figuring out what they need and being that for them help helps you write because you're writing for an audience and so you're basically selling. And so, I think that's when I finally decided. I mean, I manage salespeople, I've trained salespeople, and I consult now for two companies to their sales force, and I
Oh,
love
nice.
doing it. But I think that's when I was like, no. And my husband owned two businesses, and he was like, look, you can do this, do it. I'll help you set it up, and you can do it. And so I was like, okay,
Isn't it so much better to own your own thing?
yes, it is.
It
It's
is.
hard sometimes, but it is.
It's funny as I tell people, once you own your own thing and you are truly, and if you've never talked to sales folks before, to the people in my audience, we talk very like farmer, hunter
Yeah,
gatherer. We talk in these terms because I realized I was about to say, I'm once you own your own business, you eat what you kill. That's
right.
that's that's our world. In really for most salespeople, my new favorite term that came up a few years ago was I love the term entrepreneur.
What's that?
Oh, you've never so
No.
entrepreneur. That's such a great term, and it's a especially for sales folks. But what an entrepreneur, vice an entrepreneur, is somebody who is building their brand and building their identity while still working for another company. So a lot
Oh,
of times, like us as sales folks, if you were in the staffing world, like Erickson Staffing, we work together in staffing. That's a great example of an entrepreneur. Like you're, even though the company's out there, people recognize you more as the
you.
brand than the company. And if you were to leave, that business is probably going to follow you because they're
Yes.
they're attached to you. So you're an entrepreneur. You're inside of a company and doing it.
Mm.
And I try to get young people. Sidebar, left turn for a minute. I try to get young folks to understand how important being an entrepreneur is
Mhm.
before trying to run out and start your own business.
Yes.
Because as an entrepreneur, you learn that not only are the people on the other side of that counter your customer, your employer is your customer.
Yeah.
And your job is to serve them both.
Mhm.
Serving somebody else, Zig Ziglar always said, help enough people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. I'm second time listening to this book. It's called Business Secrets of the Bible. And the guy talks about that's all God wants you to do is serve other people. And your reward for serving other people and making sure they're taken care of is in God's going to make sure that you're
Yeah.
taken care of. So keep serving other people, keep helping other people. Completely left turn for a second. So you're into this and you're running your own business. Pasta on the floor, 2009.
So pasta on the floor. So I worked for a big law firm in New York. And in 2009, when the market tanked, I said to the one guy that was in my group, I'm like, we're going to get it. We're going to get it. Because like Bear Stearns went under, all these big companies went under.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're going to get it. Sure enough, I get a phone call from HR, me and 732 other people got it. So I get on the train that night and I am PO'd. I'm like, I've never been fired in my life. I was like, I don't know what to do.
The kick
And
in the
so
ear.
I'm like, I just couldn't believe it. It's just, and that, like I said, I knew it was going to happen. And the firm was great. I mean, they paid out our pensions, everything. They were wonderful. So I get on the train and my friend Larry goes, I think you should write a blog. And I was like, I don't want to write a blog. He goes, I'm telling you, you have amazing stories and you can write. You got to do this. And so in 2009, I started Pasta. And so it's all about, I'm Italian. It's all about my family, um, cooking, and my poor kids have been the subject of a lot of blogs, and my poor husband too. If you go to the blog and you filter it by tip, my poor husband, I mean, really. And as a sidebar, or since we were talking about bourbon, my husband was cremated, and I have his ashes in an urn. So my daughter and my son-in-law took we took my husband in the box to Whistle Pig for a tasting. So we had the big urn, like not like
Oh, I
a
love it.
little. I mean, I had the big urn. So I made the reservation. We sit him down on the table, and we said to the waitress, "That's my husband," and he loved Whistle Pig. And so we drank the whole,
Flight.
load it to the real good all the way. So that's in there. So pasta's always been like a release for me. And so, I usually write those like in the middle of the night or early in the morning when it's quiet. I've always done that. Like it's just my time to do that. I can write any other time of day for anything else, but that I always do in the quiet.
I dig that. That's Karen's time.
That's my time. Yeah.
And I have to say, I never knew your husband, but I'm liking him more and more as you say this. So I'm a big Whistle Pig fan myself.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Farm Stock series from them. That's one of my favorites. And the guys at New Scotland, when they created their rye, it was Whistle Pig was the standard they used to create their rye. And I
Oh,
always tell
really?
folks exactly. And I think that their rye stands up to Whistle Pig. And I always tell folks that's where my mind goes when somebody hands me a rye and they're like, try this, you'll love it. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't meet that standard of a Whistle Pig, I'm like, yeah, you're okay. Like maybe you're too spicy or you're more bourbon than rye. And your husband, do you know what an Empire rye is?
No.
So that is a thing. So you know how you have Kentucky bourbon and they're like,
Yes.
it's got to be made here in Kentucky, blah, blah, blah. So Empire rye is a New York specific type of rye where it's 75% of the mash bill is rye, not 51% like
Oh.
all the rest. So it's 75% rye, and the rye has to come from New York because it's a New York grain. Most people don't realize rye comes from New York, a large portion of it. So it's got to come from New York. And if you look on the side of bottles now, like this New Scotland one does, it'll have a sticker that says it's an Empire rye.
I see it.
So that's
I'll have to look now.
that's a thing now. So you're writing this, and folks, I'm looking here on Pasta on the Floor, the great cheese debate.
Yes, because I love cheese. I live for cheese, and I gave it up for Lent one year. I gave coffee and cheese, and my kids cried and begged me to crack because they were like, "Mom, you're unbearable. Just cheat, okay? Because we can't take it anymore. You're awful." So yes, I review cheeses, and I actually drive to Wegmans in DeWitt. It's 2 hours and 2 minutes door to door. They have the best cheese selection.
All the way to DeWitt.
Drive to DeWitt. My husband and I used to do it during COVID. And
What
so,
makes that
yeah,
place so different from any other? I mean, it's Wegmans. It's probably the closest one to us.
it
DeWitt,
is.
but what makes it so different from like a Price Chopper or
Oh God,
Hannaford?
no. And I think Wegmans, I don't know, their level of quality is better, and they have their own cheese cave. So
Oh wow!
yeah, really, yeah. You'll have to look in there. So I reviewed a lot of cheeses.
Do you
I
like
love cheese.
You like President Brie?
I do.
I like their brie.
I do.
Did I tell you what my look? Welcome to Two Chubby Kids in Our Soul, and we're talking right now about food. Can you tell that my grandmother was Dartia Maranto, my great grandmother was Renziano, from Palermo. So I started doing this a couple of years ago. I take prosciutto and wrap it around brie, and then put it in the smoker at 250 for about an hour, and then I top it with either honey or we started topping it with my wife and I went in Vermont. We found this maple syrup aged in bourbon barrels, and it's got a real bourbony flavor. And I'll put that over top of it, and then you take a sprig of thyme to hold it all together in the center, and then smoke it for an hour, and then cut it open. The cheese just oozes as all good brie should, but when it's warm, it oozes better.
It does ooze better.
And you rip a little bit of that prosciutto off on top of it, and that sweet and salty from the syrup or the honey. And it was funny this year, for something out of the blue, the kids were like, "Did you put something spicy on this?" I'm like, "Nope, I don't." And I started doing it in cast iron. Like I started doing them in cast iron on the smoker, so it holds a little better. But for some reason, it had a spiciness. I was like, I didn't put nothing on this.
Have you tried bee's knees? Have you tried that? The spicy honey?
No, spicy honey.
Bee's knees. We used to make a supersod pizza, and you use the honey to cut hot supersod and bee's knees.
So that's so you call it supersod. Are
Yep.
you referring to capicola?
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Gabagool.
Gabagool? I mean,
Gabagool.
like that's such a thing. Like here's a great story you'll appreciate. And we'll get into Chip and Tillie here in a second, folks. And again, if you want to know what Karen's got going on, or you're just tuning in, please give that like, share, follow. It means a lot to us.
Mhm.
But it's so funny. I used to think my grandmother's cooking was amazing, and I can kind of get close to her sauce. She always put country style pork ribs, sausage, and meatballs in the sauce and let it sit. And I'll never forget. Here's one for you. And not my last wife or my current wife, none of them would let me name my child Nunzio. And right, Nunzio Murphy. Does that not sound great? That sounds like an amazing.
Enzo would have been good too. Just saying.
I mean, so I tried to name them all Nunzio. My uncle Marty, and they would all go, "Well, obviously he got called Marty. There's a reason for that he didn't get called Nunzio." But my uncle Marty, I'll never forget one time I was like, "My grandma's a great cook," and because obviously his mother was my grandmother's mother. He got so indignant with me. He was like, "My sister can't cook for shit. You don't know nothing." And I remember my grandmother passed when I was 4, but I remember her. And then like he was like so upset that I even would compare the two. Now, my great grandmother, you have to keep in mind, this is the woman that Friday was bread, like Tuesday was cookies, like there were days dedicated. Like, so you understand what I'm talking about.
I do.
Dedicated. She kept I remember being such a pain in the ass child. She kept a jar of orzo on the back of the stove. And I remember being a pain in the butt kid and be like, "Grandma Rosie, I want that." And everybody being like, "You don't want that." You know what she did? She made me an orzo soup, and it was amazing. I can still remember it to this day. And the other one was my mother. You have to keep in mind, my mother's from Tennessee originally, and then moved to Baltimore when she was 13. Grandma Rosie, I would sit at the table, and she would give me red wine and Coke.
Yeah.
And if I wanted 10 glasses of it, I would drink 10 glasses of it. She did not. And my mother would get upset and try to get my father to do something. And she would be like, and my dad would be like, "I ain't getting involved in this." And grandma would be like, "He's fine." And she would constantly, "Mange, mange, 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 eat." So
I know. We drank wine from the time we were like, I don't know, 5.
what did you guys refer to the big green bottle as? Did you have the big green bottle?
the
The
jug
jug
that,
with the handle that was no
yeah,
bigger than a
the
quarter?
Carlo Rossi, it
Yes,
was had the
yes.
little jug handle on it. They
But
kept it in the closet. Yeah.
did you have a name for it?
No.
We called it Dago Red.
Oh,
That was Dago Red. That
it's not
that
good,
bottle,
but yeah.
oh god. We had that, and here, got it. I'll tell you one more. See, Karen, talking to somebody else who understands growing up with the whole Italian
Yes.
piece, we could tell 100 stories. Let me think here. This one's but I have one I'll tell you later, but this one you'll appreciate. So my Uncle Wayne, little guy, goes and visits with my grandfather's parents in North Carolina. And, you know, he's a little guy. They don't know what to feed him. So his grandmother in North Carolina asks him what he wants to eat. So she makes it, and he says, "That's not what I want." So he calls my grandmother and says, "I'm trying to feed him, and I don't know what he wants. He asked for pie. I made him a pie, and he doesn't like it. That's not what he wants." She goes, "Let me talk to him." And he said, "I want a piece of pie."
Piece of pie.
Pizza,
Right, piece of pie. No,
not piece of pie. She
no,
heard
piece of pie.
because he's spending his life with a little tiny Sicilian lady because that's a piece of pie.
That's a piece of pie.
And so I can tell you like these
Me
stories.
too.
And I remember getting yelled at by my grandmother because I didn't dress right for church, and she was very
Oh,
Catholic. Like there was no jeans and
mm-mm.
she was not having that.
No.
Not, and then she married a Polish guy. After my grandfather passed, she married my pop Kaz, and he was Polish. You've never seen a person happier than the little Italian lady going to the Polish Falcon, and which was the Polish club, and dancing the polka all around and then my grandfather, he was my step grandfather, but he would sing in Polish with his big giant Eastern European voice. Like he would be like, "Roll out the barrel."
Yeah.
And guy was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So let me get back. It's just you brought back good memories to me, Karen.
Yeah. They're always good memories. They are.
They are the best. So
Yeah.
then you get into so you're doing all this, you're dealing with COVID, you're writing, you're still copywriting, handling all this thing. When does the kids' book start?
So that was about, I think maybe 2 summers ago. I said, okay, I think I want to write a book, and I want to fund a memorial fund to help kids pay for college. So I said, okay. As I played around with it a little bit, and I was like, and then Tillie is just such good material because bulldogs are really funny, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and it came out great. And the illustrator is in London. She was awesome, and this is the first of 4 with Silly Lily and Tillie, and it came out easy, and it's really just it was fun,
No,
and the feedback's been really great.
but then who's Chip?
My husband.
Okay, so Chip's based on your husband.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. And if you look on the website, the logo is a little bald man and a bulldog, and that's my husband and Tillie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chip and Tillie.
Chip and
Normally I have
Tillie.
these things up. So I failed you. I normally would have all this up.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But so yeah, so it's good.
There it is.
It's good.
chipandtillie.com.
My grandfather was from Italy, and he met my husband. Now my husband's name is Anthony.
Okay.
And so when my grandfather found out that his name was Anthony, he was like, "Why the hell are you calling him Skippy? Like, what are you calling him?" He goes, "Call him Anthony." So I never told my grandfather that my mother-in-law is Irish.
Oh, why not? Look,
So
your kid.
I diluted the brand because I'm all Italian, all the way back, both sides, all the way back. And I assumed when I met my husband, this nice little Italian boy, Anthony Lombardo, I'm like, okay, I am in. This is it.
You're good.
And then Amelia marries a guy who's not, he's half Italian and something else. Sorry, Sarah. And now I'm like, it's over.
It's done.
It's over.
You can't.
Now we're just diluted.
We're
diluted.
It happens.
It happens. It happened.
My dad was half Italian, you know. He was the first of us to go Italian and Irish. You know, he was the first one. He got all that. And I'll tell you folks, if you get a chance and you can check out chipandtilliebooks.com, there's a picture of Tillie at what hard cidery is this? Like they're like
Oh,
Tillie at,
that's where I bet you they're there right now. Amelia, that's Blue Toad Cidery in Rochester. My kids live in Rochester.
okay.
And they were going to try and log on now. I don't know if they are, but it's really fun. And they've done I think they had their engagement party there, and it was super fun. It's really good, very good cider.
Well,
Can
I'm
you?
definitely a cider. I became a cider fan. Like it took me a while because so many of them are really dry.
Yeah, or
And
too
you're like,
sweet.
yeah, like I got into 1911.
Hmm.
And
Have you been there?
I've never been there.
You got to go.
Oh,
And
look,
they
you're
make their
already
own
talking about your,
spirits too. It's so good.
well, they also make their own cannabis drinks now.
Oh, they don't.
You want to make?
Really?
Oh yes. So 1911, the cidery 1911, because I think that's the year they started was 1911. Yeah, established in 1911. They also have another brand. What is the other brand? So I love their cranberry cider. Like
Yeah, it's a good one.
their cranberry is amazing.
Yep, it's good.
But they have another company that that they own. Let me see if I can find it. I'm on their website. It might not be on here. Find our products, shop,
Wow,
our
when was I
orchard.
there? I think I was there last summer with the kids because Beacon
You can
Skiff,
skip.
right?
So they
Beacon Skiff is where when I first met my husband, that's where we went to pick apple.
oh wow. So we we were at NECAN, which is the Northeast Cannabis Association, like it's a big convention,
Yep.
and was walking around, and sure enough, they had 1911 Beacon Skiff, and they had this cannabis drinks that they make now
How was it?
because it was actually really good, and they're they're actually the I know they're the largest in New York, but they might be the largest in the country for um the extraction process because they have everything based on the orchards and all the other stuff that they've got. They were able to kind of go right into that market and go like, yeah, like we can do this without a problem. I can't think of the name of it now, but yeah,
Oh, I did not know that.
look at this. See this, and I promised we were going to talk about the book. So you're writing these books. How was it first received when you were like, you're telling the kids, you're like, yeah, so I'm going to write a book. It's going to we're going to use it to help pay for other people's college. How are they receiving it?
Well, they are great. I mean, my son got a Fulbright scholarship after he graduated from Alabama. So he lives in Berlin. He's teaching English in Berlin. And Amelia's here in Rochester, just got married in October. And so they were really great. I mean, last year I rent a house on the lake every summer, and they were out there with me, and they were like, I think you should do it. So they've been great. They've been really great. The picture is behind me. My friend had the book mounted and framed, which is really nice. So it's right behind me, but you can get it on Amazon. And I've read it to a couple nursery school classes.
Nice.
Kids are allergic to dogs. If they aren't, Tilly will go because she's, like I said, bulldogs they don't jump on people. She just lays down. She just lays down. Like I've taken her to vineyards, breweries, everything. She just goes in and lays down. Lays down.
Yeah, we couldn't do that with Magnus. He's a corgi. He's
Oh
an
yeah, no,
he's an asshole. He's an absolute jackass. And
no, bullies
and
aren't.
I haven't seen you guys in a couple of weeks because I've been so busy.
I know, we missed you.
We added a puppy.
Oh,
His name's Apollo. He's a purebred mutt, but he's all what they call companion breeds. So he's like Shih Tzu and Yorkie and something else, but Beagle, like all these like companion breed dogs. And he's like now he's like 11 weeks old,
oh,
and he's that fawn color. and he's great. So it's a Heirloom, Ayrloom, Heirloom. That's owned by those guys.
I'll have to tell the kids to check it out because they
Yeah.
they go there all the time to Beacon Skiff.
Yeah, they probably know. They probably already know about it, but
Yeah.
they don't want to. They don't want to be like, "Mom, we're drinking cannabis." They might be like, "Yeah, yeah," but yeah, it's yeah. It actually says here, New York dispensaries and New York delivery service.
Really?
Yep, it's Heirloom. It's available in Georgia, Illinois. They're not paying me, but it was like they had cans there that were. I love this, vegan and gluten free. So get high and healthy all at once. I love it when people put these names on here, but we're getting close to closing up the bar. So let me get back. I told you we're gonna make left turns
fast,
and we're gonna make left turns, and we're gonna try to stay. And
it's fun.
We didn't even get into the hot dogs. All right, real quick, Gus's, Hot Dog Charlie's, or Famous Lunch.
I don't know the name of it, but when I worked in Troy, I worked for a book manufacturer. There was a place that the guys in the back took me to some hole in the wall, and it was the best hot dog I ever had in my life. But I don't.
Famous Lunch. It was Famous Lunch.
It had to be. It was outrageous, and I was like, "Oh my God, that was amazing."
Yeah, Famous Lunch. It's just in between 4th and right off of 4th Street, and
I think that was it.
On the right hand side. Like as you step in, you can, you like cut a tree and you can count the rings.
Yeah,
like you cut the grease on the wall, you could count the rings of how old that place is. Yeah, it's Famous Lunch.
Yeah, it was good.
I always feel like Famous Lunch is the one that if you're a purist and you're like, this hasn't been tampered with, it doesn't have the popularity. Like Hot Dog Charlie's is the one where if somebody comes to town, they're like, what's these little hot dogs? You're like, let me take you to Hot Dog Charlie's. It's like very basic. You can't go wrong with it. And then Gus's is more of like, I'll fight you because Gus's has got to be the best. And I'm like, I like Gus's, but I actually like Gus's Greek burger better.
Which is the one that has the little hot dogs? Like
they all have the little hot dogs.
Then that's where I was.
Yep.
So yep.
Yeah, it's Gus's, Famous Lunch, and Hot Dog Charlie's all have the little one. Gus's is the one that's in Watervliet. That's like physically looks like it's in somebody's house that they cut a window out. Like, yeah, you went to Famous Lunch. It has like a counter and everything.
Yeah.
So you're writing these books. You're out there, and I think for a lot of people, they want to do. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I got a book inside of me. I could write a book. For you, did you, because of coming from a very, and I don't know a better way to put this, a kind of more of a mechanical writing process where it was like, hey, this is our client. They're selling, tissues. We need something that is going to go on their website that's going to spark a little bit of interest to go buy their tissues. How did that different mechanical translate to a new writing style of like, and Tillie was fluffy at the time and wanted to run around with the butterflies? Like, how do you transition?
I think that's just because it came straight out as if I were telling a story. So when we used to put the kids to sleep, we would tell story.
Can you put the camera on Tillie for a minute? I'm sorry. I can still hear Tillie.
No, if I can get it down there.
Okay, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't do it. Don't worry about it, Karen. I keep hearing Tillie's
and bullies, their tongues are out like that far. So when they finally like rest, their tongues are like out far. Yeah, she's like.
All right. So
I think it's just like telling a story. So we used to tell the kids stories all the time, and we had an imaginary. Oh my God, Amelia, I can't think of the name of it. And we put a shoebox, and it was like a little imaginary creature that would help them keep like the monsters away. Like we had monster spray.
Oh,
so it was just a water bottle to spray monsters, and so I think I've always had like that storytelling mindset, and so it just came out.
That level of imagination.
Yeah.
What about when you were reaching out? Because I've got half a book written and everybody's like, just finish it. And I could tell you the whole story and it's a great story. I've hit the point where I go, it's done. They're like, but you haven't written it. I'm like, yeah, I can't. I don't know how to put it
Yep.
down on paper for me at this point. But for you, once you had your stories down, what was the feeling to hand it to somebody else and go, yeah, proofread my emotions? Because again, we're not talking something mechanical where somebody goes,
No.
hey, the client's going to feel more like the word happy is better than the word
Right.
glad. This is your emotions and your feelings. What was that like handing off to somebody?
It wasn't bad. And I told her, I said, I have thick skin. So if you don't think this is going to work, then tell me, or how we can tweak it. If you say it just flat out stinks, then that's not good enough. You got to tell me like why.
Or
What
give me
is
some
it?
feedback.
Yeah, give me the feedback. So, and the illustrator just does children's books, and so I said to her the same thing. This has been through, now it's you. So when can you see in your mind what I wrote? Can you get it? Is it making sense? She was like, it's perfect. And go. And she did it.
Now,
Perfect.
and it's interesting that the illustrator was able to pick that up so easily, because I always think about with children's book, the art carries more. Like you read a Stephen King book and it's the walls were bleeding in the color crimson red, like you might find on a Nike shoe in aisle 3. Like he's so
Oh
detailed
yeah.
in his writing, but in a children's book, it's more like, and the butterfly's wings were very shiny, and somebody's got to illustrate that so that the
Yes.
child can pick up on it. Were you surprised that she was able to pick up so easily on that level of writing to create the art?
Oh, we had one revision on one thing, and I can't even remember what it was. And she just got it. I think we spent a lot of time talking, and I sent her the manuscript, and it was all laid out, and I had ideas of what I thought the images should look like, and she really just got it. She just
That's
totally got
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Now, some of the other stuff that I'm on that site right now, chipandtillybooks.com, and I see you've got, people can email you on there, and Chip and Tilly have their own Instagram. Now it says here schedule an event. What kind of things are can people schedule, or is there a specific, like, hey, I can only do Tuesdays at 2 o'clock between, like, what kind of things are people scheduling?
No, like with notice, I can because I have my own schedule. I can do it. So like if you wanted me to come to a nursery school and read the book, or if you wanted to do a meet and greet with Tilly, we can do that. So it's really and I've had all kinds of requests. So and like I said, she's very laid back. She travels really well. She's just great. So yeah.
Lily is my granddaughter.
Really?
Yeah, that's my granddaughter's name. 2 L's though. Uh, but that's funny because I'm looking at this: courage to overcome, friendship and trust, kindness and
Yeah.
compassion, Now all these pieces to this, like, do you like, hey, I'm going to write a book and these are the goals?
No.
Like, it just kind of comes out in it, or does somebody else tell you it?
And then when it was done, you look back and you're like, okay, so what did we do? We talked about finding a friend, how a friend gets you through a hard time, how together now something isn't as bad as it was when you were alone. It's the process of, one, and now there's two, and two can do more than that.
I'm
Are you
so
laughing at Tilly?
I just I just was going through it, and I saw this picture and I was like, what is this? And I clicked on it. Folks, you got to check out Chip and Tilly's Instagram, Miss Tilly Official. This picture of Tilly in a wig
In the wig?
and sunglasses is winning the entire time. And we're getting close to closing. So if anybody out there's got any questions, you have any curiosity, my buddy Nate didn't show up today. I thought Nate would be here. And oh God, I should have asked you, because you were with two of our this whole thing you have where Denise had the thing on the 11th. I have 3 of you, and I know 4 of you that were on there. I know Miranda Von Fricken, Kat's been on, Denise has been on, now you've
Yeah.
been on.
Yeah.
I still got to get who's Tamani. Didn't she do the news? She's the
She did
news.
the news. And
Yep.
she wrote a romance novel. Very cool.
I met her. I don't know Kara. I don't know Jim. Jim sounds familiar. And
Mhm.
Mary Miller. That's too funny. But you guys got to check this out because that's too funny. Tillie's
Oh,
pictures
thanks.
are hilarious on here. So, any upcoming events? Anything where you would say, "Hey, you can come see me here, come see me there."
Not yet, because I think the holidays really slowed us down. I think right now I'm just working at building up that community fund and finding other resources to sell the book. So I live in Niskayuna, and the co-op may
Honest
pick
weight.
up the book. I'm sorry, what?
Honest weight.
No, just our little co-op here in Niskayuna.
Oh, you got one in
They
this?
might
I
want
didn't
to
know that.
sell the book. Yeah, it's on the corner of Balltown and Knott Street.
I know where you're talking about. That little tiny one. You can
Yeah, it's
reach.
great.
You should go up to Honest Weight if that
Oh, I
co-op.
should.
Honest Weight's another one that they would probably dig that.
Yeah.
I'm a member over there at Honest Weight. I would love to buy all my groceries there, but I would have to sell a kidney per bag. Like
I know.
it's crazy. Like going in there, I love the stuff they have. I love what they carry, but it's always
Yeah,
like, ah,
I know. You just
like
have to.
I guess I'll put back the organic something that I have that I didn't realize was $17 for 1 ounce of it. But they have a good cheese selection. They have a really good
Take a
cheese
ride to
selection.
Wegmans with me. You're more than welcome to come.
We might have to do that. And go to Honest Weight Food Co-op.
I will.
They have a really good cheese selection in the back. I even think at one point in time they actually, what is it, cheesemonger? They had like a monger.
Yes.
I think they had a monger at one point in time. It's you just got to be, it's a little hippy dippy for me. Can't imagine that hippy dippy. Like it doesn't always bother me, but sometimes it's a little like, you do know patchouli doesn't get rid of you taking a shower. Like you can take a shower. Like I know you like the smell of patchouli, but like,
Yeah, but no,
you
no.
know, you
It's not
gotta.
meant for that. No.
That's just because you rub eucalyptus on the bottom of your feet doesn't mean that like you don't have to wear shoes. Like you
No.
gotta. That's me.
No.
So I'm gonna ask Nate's question because Nate didn't make it here. So
What's his question?
Nate is always asking food questions of all of our guests, and I don't know where he's at. I'm gonna yell at him later. Normally I would say like, did you have a celebratory meal after writing the book? But I'm gonna ask this one. What is Karen's go-to? Guests are coming over. We're gonna have dinner tonight, and you want to be like the kids are like, Mom, I'm bringing the in-laws in. What is Karen making?
So I have to tell you, I have not cooked since he died.
No, not. How do you eat?
I can't do it. Can't do it. I lost all my imagination. I can't. So I have not. No. And I have to say, and I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, but I'm a good cook.
Well, I would have
And
believed
I'm
it.
a very creative cook, and I cannot do it.
Really?
Mm-mm. No, not Christmas, not Thanksgiving. Cannot do it.
So what do you eat?
So I'm a really good salad maker, and pastina is my favorite thing in the world next to cheese. So I make pastina,
What is pastina?
eggs, pastina,
I don't know what that
pastine.
is.
Like you don't eat pastina? It's
No.
like Italian penicillin. That's what you eat when you don't feel good. It's like teeny tiny little stars. They even Wegmans has their own brand, thank God,
Oh,
because
okay. I know what you're talking about now, but
yeah,
I've never heard. I guess I've never heard that term.
pastina. Mm-hmm.
So
So
you eat
that
a lot of that in salad.
I pastina salads, sandwich, eggs. And my husband made pizza that we would spend a week creating all different types of pizza. Look on the pasta site, you'll see them all.
Wow.
Can't do it. Yeah.
I respect that. I hope you come back to the land of cooking. Maybe that's what you need is the kids to just surprise you and be like, look, Mom, we're showing up. You gotta
Gotta
jump
do it.
into action.
Yeah.
Amelia, see if it works.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, let me know and go to K's or something like that.
Yep.
Go to K's and get pizza if it
Yep.
doesn't work. Well, look, folks, if you're, as I always say every week, if you're finding me through Karen or Karen through me, taking that moment, like, share, follow, do
Yeah.
all those kind of things, as cliche as it sounds, it truly makes a difference for both of us. That's how Karen's stuff gets found out. That's how mine gets found out. Taking the moment, looking up virtualcopywriter.com. It's Virtual Copywriter on Instagram, also seeing what she's got there. reading Possum on the Floor, ordering at least 100 copies of chipandtilliebooks.com. Make sure you get them all on Amazon, so she also gets the extra kickback there. Do all those kind of things. Help Karen moving those along. Maybe that's the oomph. And then Karen will be like, she'll send me a picture and she'll be like, Sean, look what I made. I made spaghetti, spaghetti. I made a little bit spaghetti, little bit of something, and she'll send us that. So make sure you're seeing that. And you know what? If you're a teacher, make sure you reach out. Maybe she come out to your school and she can read the book. Or if you know somebody that runs a daycare center, that Tillie's a perfect one for that. Do a daycare center. Do all those kind of things. And then let's talk about next week's guest. I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to know next week's guest. Like, we're having an entire run here of our hour run. So next week is Jennifer DeGroff. Remember Jennifer?
Yes, she's great. Awesome.
And she works with the autism community at, I can't remember the name of the fitness place that they have. And it's a sensory gym right here in the Albany area. And it's not, I'll tell you what's great about it is they do a phenomenal job. It's not just for kids who have sensory concerns, bringing little kids in there because of the way it's set up, allowing them to be exposed to other kids that, hey, maybe don't have the same sensory needs with a kid who does. And what's amazing about it is when you get to see them interact, because guess what? If you haven't noticed kids, folks, kids don't hate anyone.
No,
they just want to play and have fun. And it's a great way to get your kids out there. So Jennifer's going to be talking to us about that, how she got involved. We're going to be learning more about that process. So make sure you join us next week and see what she's got going on. Check out our folks at New Scotland Spirits. For those of you that didn't catch Saturday's show, we didn't realize it, Karen. Saturday's show was almost 1 year to the day the first time Jesse had been on 4 years prior. And then we were talking, and it had been about almost 2.5 years since the time he was on before then. And the first time, what's crazy is the first time he was on, the company was a concept. The liquor was in barrels, hadn't even been poured yet. When he came on 2.5 years ago, they had just poured their first bottles. And now
that's really cool.
And now they have a tasting room down. I don't know if any of your kids ever skated, but Seasons on Lark Street, the skate shop right next door to it is their tasting room. And you would love their tasting room. And the reason I say that is it's very wood, leather, books,
comfy,
very much that comfy, like you expect Hemingway at any point in time to come around the back and be like, so I was just fighting a bear and I've decided I'm going to write another book. That's the vibe that it has to it all the way. So now don't log off on me afterwards. We got a little bit to talk about afterwards, but I know you've binged all 267 of the episodes of this. You're fully immersed in everything. So you know what's coming, which is the guest always gets the final word. So what's the final word tonight, Karen?
I don't know. What's the final word? Is it a single word or
whatever you want it to be? It's yours. You have the floor.
I don't know. I gotta tell you, though, I'll tell you, life is very short to eat bad cheese. I think that would be my thing to part with you, that if you're going to eat cheese, drink good wine. Prosecco is my personal favorite. And I let people pay me in Prosecco. When I write eulogies or obits for people, I let them pay me in Prosecco because I can't take money. So, have a good soul, eat good cheese, just be a good person. That's my final thought.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push your stool in. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.